Hey to all those seeking vibrant health, it's Dr. Rachel Northern here, and I'm in my office, Johnsburg Chiropractic and Wellness Center in Johnsburg. Today, my topic is Foundations of Health. We're promoting as Foundations of Supplementation, getting ready for our big supplement sale, but I wanted to talk about DNA testing as well. So we're going to talk about using DNA testing, lifestyle management, and supplementation, just kind of a wellness-based approach. So if you're into more preventative, on your health journey and wellness, then this is a good talk for you. So why does the foundation of health matter? So in my practice, I want to help people figure out what's best for them. There's not every supplement standard that you can get can be good for you. So I have a lot of patients that come in, they hear something on the radio, or they've done some research themselves, and they come in with all these supplements that they put themselves on, and sometimes it's not actually good for their body. And a good way to find that out is doing some of this DNA work. So also I do hair analysis. That's another thing that helps too. But, so it's great to be proactive. I believe it was Ben Franklin that coined the term, an ounce of a prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's more, it's more efficient to be preventative and help yourself versus trying to clean up disease. Once disease happens, it's a longer road. It's harder to reverse. But if we can get ahead of it, then it's going to be an easier ride for you and be better for your body. So genetics, we're going to talk a little bit about genetics influence our body's function, how our lifestyle choices make a difference. They certainly do. And nutrition and supplementation, how we fill in the gaps with what's maybe weak in our genes and how we can make some differences there. I am further on later. We are going to talk about some nutrients that probably everybody should do. But there is some considerations if you do the DNA testing that you will know this is really important for your genetic makeup. Your genes actually need these nutrients or antioxidants. We'll talk about that a little bit. So the role of DNA testing, which we do, we're actually usually about twice a year, we do 10% off our DNA lab work. It's an easy cheek swab. Just do a cheek swab. We send it to the lab within 3-ish weeks. We get it back. And generally I go over with like a specialist over people's labs, and we can sit down in a consultation to help you know what's more unique to you. So it does identify your weaknesses and your strengths. There's been a lot of information in the last couple of years about MTHFR and other genes that maybe you might have a weakness for, and we can talk more detailed for you as an individual what you need on these when we do these individual tests. Maybe you have some predispositions for inflammation. Maybe you're predisposed to have more inflammation. Can't have a low threshold for stress, have a low threshold for detoxification, trouble with that. If sometimes you just need that personal dialed in recommendation, and sometimes just a little tweak of a couple supplements makes a world of a difference, or a little tweak on maybe what you're eating and dietary things that are going on. So again, we're just focusing on prevention with the DNA. And understanding this. So there are short things they call about SNPs. They talk about that. And I love this Dr. Ben Lynch. We've been doing a lot of, especially my office manager, she really loves him. He does a lot of podcasts and about, he calls it dirty genes. And sometimes what happens is we can actually have some stress on our genes, even in utero, like even at conception, there's already some of these negative sides of our genes turned on from our parents not being healthy, doing healthy lifestyle choices, but you can reverse that. You still can turn some of these genes on and off. Also, we have, like everybody wants to talk about the negative side of these pitfalls, but there's also positive sides of the pitfalls. Like I'm a driven, kind of a workaholic type person. That kind of helps me in some ways. In other ways, I might go too far and get stressed out. So it's good that it helps me be motivated. It helps me that I'm a positive person and try to be positive. Some people are born with these funny dispositions, and that's good. So there's certain positives of genes. Sometimes, a lot of times the genes cancel each other out. So you might have a negative on one side, but then there's a positive that helps balance that out. So they're not all bad. Everybody talks about the bad side of genes. We don't think about both sides of the coin. Like our genes are amazing. So what we want to make sure is we're optimizing like our detoxification pathways. If we are methylating, which means are we processing things properly? Are we getting the adequate B complexes that aren't complicated and synthetic that might gum up the works? Dr. Ben talks a lot about that in his work. Is that causing extra inflammation in your body? What's going on with your sleep? So I personally have I think it's called the clock gene, and I'm prone to like seasonal affective disorder. So summer times I'm a rock star. When it's sunny out, I'm happy. In the wintertime, it's harder for me to be motivated. I did get one of those seasonal affective disorder lamps. So I try to turn that bright lamp on when those dark mornings we have in the Midwest. That it definitely makes a difference for my brain. So there's certain things and tricks we can do to help our genes and help us be better. So the lifestyle management habits we can have is like just discussing what's going on with your sleep quality. Unfortunately, we know we're sleep deprived in our society in general. The average American only gets 6 hours sleep. Everybody knows we should get at least 7.5, 7 to 8. That is not, we're still lacking that 1 hour, and we need it consistently. A lot of people go, oh, well, I'll catch up on the weekend. There's no catching up. Your gene is getting pushed down and stressed and stressed. You have to try to be consistent with it. So that's really important to try to figure out your sleep quality. Stress, manage it. How are you handling stress? Well, we're going to talk a little bit more of these things in a slide in advance. Are you movement? I just had a patient yesterday. He's a desk worker. He has a sit-stand desk. Like he has one that he could stand with. And he's like, giggled at me because he's like, oh yeah, I haven't like stood in a while. I've been just sitting at it instead of using it, like doing it alternating between standing and moving. So get that movement in. Make sure you're not stationary. That makes a difference. Our body's meant to move, and it does affect our whole lifestyle. What nutrition you're doing. Are you drinking water? I mean, straight water, or maybe even like a little, maybe add like a little sea salt or lemon or whatever. But I have so many people like, oh, I drink 4 cups of coffee a day. Doesn't that count? Or I drink soda. I'm like, no, it's pure water, straight water. How many cups of that are you getting a day? Your body needs that. It makes a difference on our body and how it functions. So stress in the nervous system, obviously, as a chiropractor, my passion is first and foremost the optimal function nervous system. That's what we do as chiropractors, making sure that communication from the brain down into the nerves, that there's no interference in the spine or other places in our body. So I want to restore that balance, make sure we got optimal communication there. And, but the stress in the nervous system also causes problems, whether the 3 toxins we talk, or the 3 things we talk about chiropractic. We talk about traumas that happen, either major or micro. We have the thoughts, which is the stress, the kind of stress that we have bombarded on our brain with the Facebook. Are you taking, breaks? Are you doing like fasting, like on your social media, like putting that away for weeks at a time, or no screen days, those kind of things to calm the nervous system down so we're not constantly getting data into our brain? Are you doing things like that? So what we want to make sure, is mindful practices. Are you trying to take time to just stop and be quiet and meditate? We just started this new thing at the office in our pre-morning huddle where we stop and just pause for 30 seconds-ish and just be quiet and just kind of calm our brains before we start our day. So then we're just ready to take on whatever's going on with patients and be better ready for them. And it's been pretty amazing. I've felt the difference. And, what are you doing again with your movements through the day? Do you have a structured plan in action? And that's where I talked in past talks. I love the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, because he talks about how to maybe establish these healthy habits and how to get yourself set up to have little micro changes in a day that can build over time to be great habits. So if we start small, then you're more going to be successful to carry those changes on. So nutrition as a foundation. So that nutrition, like some data says like 80% of our health is related to what we eat and what we consume in our body. And some people also say like the 80% is the activity, whatever. We know the combination between healthy mindset, meditation, healthy food intake, healthy movement, all these things compound to having success of having a healthier body. So, what are you doing for like food? Are you eating crap? Are you putting stuff that's non-food in your body? Synthetic colorings and synthetic flavorings, artificial dye, all the artificial stuff, sweeteners that are taxing on our genes, making our genes dirty, is what Dr. Ben calls it? Or are we doing fresh fruits and vegetables and things that are just non-contaminated that we really need? So how is that feeding? So whole food nutrition, whole food vitamins, we're going to talk about that. So are you doing anti-inflammatory things? So your omega-3s, we're going to go into that a little bit. And the top diet in all research studies is the Mediterranean style diet. That is in all research that we've went to, and whether you're dealing with pain, autoimmune issues, all the different seminars I've went to, they always come back to the low carb Mediterranean diet is the best diet for our bodies as a humankind. So start looking into those diets. What does that look like for you? And I also like to caveat, it's just trying to do a grain elimination. Grain tends to be inflammatory, especially in our society, which is unfortunately microprocessed, not really healthy, kind of go straight to sugar, which is straight to inflammation. So here's some supplements that I would recommend on here. So we just kind of, for here in the office, like I said, I do a more personal style of way of recommending supplements. Either we'll do a hair analysis, kind of see where your body is, but the DNA, that one's your life. That is not going to change, where hair analysis kind of sees where you're at in a couple months at a time versus the DNA, that is your base foundation. So that is a really good game changer because you only have to do that once, and we can just take that data and you can help know your body better. And I did mine years ago, and I still have to pull it out once in a while because there's more data coming out of like helping myself. And when I did it years ago and did a couple tweaks on my supplements, I made an amazing change. I felt the amazing difference. But even now I'm like learning more things and more little tweaks to help myself, especially as I'm going through transition phases and seasons of my life. So here's some things about how we can do personal recommendations. First of all, everybody needs omega-3s in our society. So that's a foundation I think everybody does, whether it be flaxseed oil or some sort of fish oil. And I recommend at least 2,000 milligrams a day. Walnuts actually is a good source of omega-3s as well. We have like green tea or the L-theanine. Now with that, you have to be careful because that's something that came up with my DNA. I didn't realize. I was drinking green tea. I thought I was fine. I did notice I had some weird signs. Sometimes I didn't realize there were kind of side effects. Well, then looking back at my DNA, I found out some of us don't process actually green tea well. So there's some people, like everybody says, oh, green tea for antioxidant. My DNA doesn't do good with green tea. I've also found other patients that don't do good with quercetin or some of these other things that people recommend. And so that's not good for them. It might be good for other people, but necessarily for your genetic makeup. So there is not a one size fit all sometimes with all these supplements. So that's why it's good to have this, find out about these things. Bees, making sure we get bees. Nowadays, our society is so just bogged down with mostly synthetic bees. Unfortunately, they spray all our enriched products with synthetic bees, and that kind of dampens down our genes. So you want to make sure you get more of a clean pastas, clean breads. Good luck with that. It's hard to do. I personally am gluten-free, so it's easy for me to avoid that stuff. But make sure if you're doing any bees, make sure they are methylated and make sure there's a combination. Dr. Ben's work does talk a lot about this, so to help yourself with that with recommendations, if you want to look into more free data that he offers. Making sure vitamin C complexes, vitamin D and K, these are stuff that we know we need on a daily basis now. Even the medical doctors are saying like 2,000 to 5,000 units of IUs of vitamin D a day now, especially for us in the Midwest that sometimes just don't get enough sun. And so we're now also, magnesium's been another one the MDs are now jumping on, that everybody needs some supplement with magnesium. We have manganese, which people don't talk about, which I've been talking about for several years. Manganese is a trace mineral, a mineral that we need, and it's important for our ligament and our tendon strength. So unfortunately, a lot of these supplements don't contain that particular nutrient, or if they do, it's very minimal. So that's when I like, if I find somebody that's spraining themselves a lot, there's a lot of things going on, then I'm going to put them on something that's a little richer in manganese. There is also some genetic codes. Some people I have this genetic weaknesses where their body needs extra manganese. So these are kind of the people that are hyper flexible, that say they have double jointedness. These people generally need more manganese in their diets. and in their supplementation. So overall, we know we're getting over-processed food that is not, or overcropped, that we're not getting our nutrients in. So everybody, I think, should be on some sort of trace mineral on a daily basis. Also, we know we're getting antibiotics in even some of our foods or the animals that we're eating. So making sure we're getting some kind of form of probiotics, prebiotics. Now, if you're eating your fruits and vegetables like your apples, which are rich in fiber, fiber is a natural prebiotic. So if you're doing a Mediterranean diet, you're already going to get some of these things naturally. And then sticking with more of the organics, you're going to get more nutrients. We have the NAC, which kind of goes to the glutathione, our most powerful antioxidant in our body. Like I talked about quercetin, be careful with that. If you notice it doesn't really work for you, maybe it's because of your genetic makeup. Resveratrol, which this is the whole glass of red wine a day thing. Well, you can do dark grapes, organic grapes, and get the same aspect, or you can get a capsule of grapes or whatever, like all these rich, flavorful or colorful things to get the resveratrol. You don't need to do a glass of wine because alcohol is damper on our genes as well. So looking at those things. So for here in the office, we do the personalized, the testing. We offer the test. It's up to you if you want to take it and read it on your own. Good luck with that. Like I do is, like I said, I consult with a professional to make sure we hit all the things, and I'll sit down and review that with the patient one-on-one as a consultation, so you have a better idea on that. We have some coaching, lifestyle coaching. I love helping people who do want to be better and want to make changes and want to take care of their body. We love doing that. I love it when people just see like, oh, I can feel better if I stop doing this. And I do that. And I understand it's a road. That's why I have my book, which I was talking about. If you just want something basic to help you just with general health things, the Journey to Vibrant Health. Health is a journey. It is not like, oh, one stop or we get to the next level. It's just constant. Myself, I used to only work out like once a week, and then I eventually got added twice a week, and now I do 3 times a week, and sometimes once in a while, very rare, I'll get 4 times a week. So I have a very, it's nice, but I'm pretty consistent. And I notice the difference on how my body feels when I don't work out. So it's a process. So we can do targeted things for that. Let's see what I got. We got different symptom surveys I do. The lasting effects is better energy, better sleep, better mood, all these things that will make a difference. You can handle stress a little better. Also, this is the kicker. I've had a slew of patients lately in that 70 age range, and they want that fountain of youth. They want to not age anymore somehow, and they want me to fix all their ailments. And so maybe if we have some of this information that can help them, I tell people all I can do is try to give you the tools you can, but I can't reverse the degeneration process, but you can maybe tweak some of the quality of life. And for example, I did have an older gentleman, and then he was just like casual, drinking like a beer a night. And I just, after I got like good rapport with him after a couple of weeks, I said, you should probably cut that beer. If you can cut that beer out, it's kind of inflammatory if you didn't know. And sure enough, like 2 weeks later, he comes in, he's like, I've been feeling great for a week. And I'm like, well, like adjustments are helping you. And he's like, oh no, I stopped drinking beer. And he's like, it does make a difference. So just sometimes those little tweaks, that make a difference. So he didn't, one beer probably wasn't too taxing his body, but it did cause some inflammation in his body. So little things to just give you a little bit of quality of life, even in your senior years. But I like to, if we could catch like even the little ones, so they know what their genetic makeup, instead of trial and erroring it, would be a great thing too for the future. So, putting it all together, first off, like your genetics is not like, oh, you're going to have this cancer, or this, your father's had a heart attack. Your father's, like maybe your grandfather died at 50 in the 50s, and like you're worried about this. Well, there's usually something you can do to help prevent, that's probably that weak gene. If you can help protect that gene not to be expressed. And in my family alone, I'm the only one that's made it almost to 50, still with her gallbladder. It's not on any thyroid medications, not on any blood pressure medications. There's a lot of things, and that's because I did a lifestyle changes years and years ago, and I am trying to support my healthy genetics and help support my body. And that's a testament to that. So also I do get adjusted regularly as well. So that is helpful, I think, on my nervous system. So your genes, kind of are that loaded gun, but, your lifestyle pulls a trigger. So if you're a smoker, if you're eating, bad food and drinking diet sodas and everything every day and loading your genes, they're going to express the negative sides of it. They're going to express that disease and those ailments. Or you can protect them and express the positive sides. It's up to you. What's nice to be creating personal things that works for you, and you and your spouse could be totally different on things that you need and what works for you. So like I talked about, preventative is great. Doing small changes, like I said, that book Atomic Habits will help. How do we go from here? So that's at you. That is, schedule an appointment and try to get in to do like this testing. You can see if there's anybody in your areas that do that work. I'm in Johnsburg here in this area. I love doing that. I do usually have to do spinal scans and stuff because make sure your nervous system is adequately operating, because if you're subluxated and that nerve is not communicating to your organs and things, that's another thing. I want to make sure the lights are on and moving, and then let's see what the genetics are underneath, and then we can put the supplements and recommendations on that. So what else we got? We try to do personnel strategies. Every person that comes in, when I do my evaluation, my recommendations are going to be based on what you are. It's not a cookie cutter. Everybody has this many visits. Everybody gets this supplements. It's really detailed to you. And what I really love is seeing people be healthy for years and years to come. I love it when people get better in my office and graduate to the next level. When they don't need to come in as much frequently, they learn how to eat better. I don't see them as much. It's great. And so I love seeing that, because there's a lot of people out there that I could help. And if you're still in my office because you're still sick, then that clogs up this thing. So I actually love seeing people be healthier and succeed in their health and be well. So, and I love taking care of the whole family as well. It's always fun. So that's it. This is my information. My office number is 815-344-0113. You can text that number if you have you want some information on this. And my website is thedoctorandyou.com.